Nero believed himself to be an artist and an athlete. He famously fiddled while Rome burned, and he disrupted an Olympic chariot race by falling off the chariot and declaring himself the winner anyway. Although fiddles were not invented for several hundred years after Nero's death, his focus on the arts and self-promotion tainted his reign. Some historians think Nero may have even set the Great Fire of Rome himself. Roman emperors continue to amuse, amaze, and confound people today, but Nero was one of the most infamous. Ruling from 54 CE to 68 CE, Nero's atrocities wreaked havoc on Rome, resulting in murders, abuses, and one of the most famous fires in history. So, how did such a self-centered man become the leader of the Roman Empire? Initially, he was not in line to rule, content to remain at his aunt's house and become an artist. However, his mother had other plans. Agrippina the Younger was determined that her son would rule, and she used all her influence and political power to make sure he took the throne in 54 CE. She continued to influence Nero until her death. Many people focus on Nero, so it's time to focus on the power behind the throne, Agrippina. Her influence is difficult to overstate, and she directly impacted Nero's early reign. Who was Agrippina the Younger? Agrippina the Younger came from a strong family that had been at odds with the imperial throne since Tiberius's reign. Her mother, Agrippina the Elder, accused Tiberius of murdering her husband, Germanicus. Agrippina the Elder had several children. One of Agrippina the Younger's brothers was Caligula, who took the throne after Tiberius died. Agrippina the Younger knew she was a pawn in Roman politics. She was eventually married to Gnaeus Domitius Ahenobarbus. When Caligula became emperor, Agrippina was pregnant with a baby boy. Some historians believe Caligula had engaged in incest with her, primarily because Caligula was not known for his discretion. Her baby was born on December 15, 37 CE, and Agrippina named him Lucius Domitius Ahenobarbus. Whether or not her son came from Caligula or Gnaeus Domitius Ahenobarbus, Agrippina soon earned her brother's ire by conspiring against him with her sister Julia Livilla. Caligula had just begun his descent into madness. When he learned about their betrayal, he punished everyone involved. This punishment included exiling Agrippina to the Pontine Islands, leaving Lucius with no money or immediate family. At 2 years old, he went to live with his aunt, Domitia Lepida the Younger. Lucius was essentially a minor noble with no money or family, so Domitia Lepida did not give him a substantial education. His tutors were a barber and a dancer, inspiring in him a lifelong love of art and culture without giving him any real experience with politics or running an empire. However, life in the Roman Empire was never the same for long. Early in Caligula's reign, he had appointed Tiberius Claudius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, better known as Claudius, as a chief advisor. Before this, Claudius had had no hope of a political career. He had a limp and was partially deaf. For decades, everyone who was supposed to protect and educate him treated Claudius with contempt or abuse, believing him to be unintelligent or lazy. Despite his physical disabilities, Claudius was bright and fought for his education, taking a particular interest in history. His intelligence and political astuteness helped him survive Caligula's assassination. After murdering Caligula, the Praetorian Guard found him and most of the imperial family, and the Guard immediately made Claudius the next emperor. Claudius knew he needed to marry, especially when he became emperor. He'd always been unlucky in love. His third wife even married one of her lovers while still being married to Claudius. The emperor had sworn off marriage, but as the Roman political scene became more unstable, he decided to use his need to marry to keep his enemies close. Claudius married his niece, Agrippina the Younger, in 49 CE. The action forever changed little Lucius's life, setting him on the path to become Emperor Nero. How did Agrippina help her son become emperor? Marrying Claudius was the opportunity Agrippina had been waiting for her entire life. She now had more power than any other woman in the Roman Empire, and she knew Claudius had a reputation for allowing his wives to push him around. Far from allowing Claudius to keep an eye on his enemies, their marriage allowed Agrippina to manipulate her way closer to the imperial throne. Being the empress was not enough for her. She wanted to be the emperor's mother, allowing her to exert even more power. One of the first things Agrippina did was bring her son Lucius to the imperial palace. At the time, Lucius was 12 and had spent about 10 years separated from Agrippina. He was also not well acquainted with his great-uncle, who had just become his stepfather, so moving back to Rome shocked the boy. Domitia was not on good terms with either Claudius or Agrippina, and Agrippina had Domitia executed on false charges to keep her from influencing Lucius. He also lost his former tutors. Claudius appointed Lucius Annaeus Seneca as Lucius's new tutor. Seneca was a more appropriate choice for a member of the imperial family. He taught philosophy and had a rational outlook, contrasting sharply with everything Lucius had previously learned. Having Lucius at the palace allowed Agrippina direct access to her son again, and she began pushing for him to become the next emperor of Rome. According to most sources from the time, Lucius did not share his mother's ambitions. He wanted to explore his passion for the arts and had a particular interest in plays and drama. In addition, Claudius already had a biological son named Britannicus, the first and obvious choice for Claudius's successor. Agrippina had other plans. She pushed Lucius in his studies and even replaced Britannicus's tutors with less capable instructors to ensure her own son had a better education. By the time Lucius was 13, his mother convinced Claudius to legally adopt him, making Lucius a joint heir to the empire. They also changed his name, renaming the boy Nero Claudius Caesar Drusus Germanicus. Unofficially, Nero was the next in line to the throne, and Agrippina began to pressure Claudius even more to get Nero ready to take the throne. Nero suddenly began appearing in the Roman Forum and would argue cases for the plebeians, which made him more popular with the ordinary people. When Nero turned 15, Claudius married him to Claudia Octavia, Claudius's biological daughter and Nero's stepsister. The marriage was politically advantageous because it secured Nero's claim to the throne, but it did not provide a love match. The following year, 16-year-old Nero found himself catapulted onto the imperial throne. Claudius had finally begun pushing back on Agrippina, showing more affection to Britannicus instead of Nero. Britannicus was almost old enough to gain followers, which could ruin Agrippina's plan. Then, on October 13, 54 CE, Claudius died. Nearly all ancient sources from the Roman Empire say Agrippina murdered him by giving him a dose of poisoned mushrooms, although some modern sources disagree that Claudius was murdered. However he died, Claudius's death left Nero, a teenager more interested in the arts than the government, as the new Roman emperor. Agrippina had already ensured the Praetorian Guard and Senate were full of people loyal to her and Nero, so Nero was immediately accepted as emperor. Although Nero was officially in charge, everyone in Rome knew who held the power of the imperial throne: Agrippina the Younger. Why did Nero kill his mother? After all that Agrippina did to secure her son's place as the Roman emperor, it may seem strange that Nero would order her death only a few short years later. However, Nero's matricide is one of his most famous crimes. Despite the impending disaster, the first 5 years of his reign went smoothly. As a teenager, Nero enjoyed the ceremony and public speeches an emperor had to partake in, and he was happy to leave the actual running of the country to Seneca, Agrippina, and the Praetorian prefect Sextus Afranius Burrus. Nero spent his first few years as emperor exploring the world of Roman art. While Nero was examining Roman culture, Agrippina protected her power and enjoyed ruling through her son. Most of the administrative work did not fall to either of these two. Instead, Seneca and Burrus did most of the actual governing for the first 5 years, using their combined wisdom and experience to help the empire prosper. Nero did not remain uninterested in ruling the Roman Empire forever. He began to push back against his mother, attempting to take on some of the power for himself. Agrippina knew she would lose power if her son began ruling the empire by himself, and the few short years she had had were not enough for her. The two soon found themselves locked in a power struggle. The more Agrippina tried to force Nero not to cause her any trouble, the more he struggled and pushed his own ideas. The more Nero exerted his independence, the more Agrippina tried to force him away from the political arena. One of the people who finally tipped the fight in Nero's favor was Claudia Acte, a common freedwoman. Acte was unlike any person Nero had spent much time with before. She might have been one of Claudius's enslaved people from Asia, and historians are not sure when she became free. Regardless, she was content to serve the family quietly, and Nero quickly fell in love with her. He had never loved Octavia, his wife, but his relationship with Acte gave him the love connection he had been missing. When Burrus and Seneca discovered Nero's affair, they encouraged him to continue, believing the relationship would satisfy the young man when his marriage was not enjoyable. Agrippina, however, was livid. Acte quickly became a major influence in Nero's life, pushing Agrippina's influence aside. Acte encouraged Nero to take on more responsibility and engage more directly with politics, effectively pushing Agrippina to the sideline of the political arena. Agrippina had worked her entire life to get this power. She had even, possibly, murdered her husband to get it. She needed her son to remain a figurehead to keep her power, so his increasing independence was a threat. Surprisingly, Agrippina did not get rid of Acte. Historians believe Nero was somehow able to protect her from his mother. Some sources even say that Agrippina decided the next logical course of action was to seduce her son. At the time, Agrippina was 41 years old and still gorgeous. The only reason she failed was that Acte discovered the plot and convinced Nero engaging in those types of relationships with his mother would ruin him politically. Agrippina began working on various schemes to attempt to overthrow Nero. These included supporting Britannicus until Nero had him murdered, as well as meeting with various political leaders. In the end, Nero had to resort to drastic measures: matricide. He came up with several inventive methods to kill her, including making her bedroom ceiling collapse and giving her a boat designed to capsize. Agrippina managed to escape every single attempt, leaving Nero with no options other than to order a soldier to kill her. The impact Agrippina the Younger made on Nero's life would affect the rest of his reign. Agrippina was determined not to sit on the sidelines of Roman politics, and she used her influence over her son to fulfill her dreams. She is one of the tragic figures in Roman history, leaving people to wonder where family fits into a world focused on self-promotion and power. Agrippina's focus on herself left horrors, crimes, and shocking tragedies in its wake, ultimately changing the course of ancient Roman history. How would you like to get a deeper understanding of history, impress your friends, and predict the future more accurately based on past events? If this sounds like something you might be into, then check out the brand new Captivating History Book Club by clicking the first link in the description. To learn more about Agrippina and Nero, check out our book, Nero, A Captivating Guide to the Last Emperor of the Julio-Claudian Dynasty and How He Ruled the Roman Empire. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.